Hey, what up, guys? So, I did tell you in the last episode that I would be posting a couple little bonus features for y'all. So, I got an interview with a former staff member who was actually we were really close with when we went there. And we ended up having a few drinks and talking for almost 5 hours. So, I'm gonna release the first hour for you guys to check out. Now, we're gonna do sit down and have another proper interview where we're not having so much fun and drinking so many beers because it's honestly a little bit embarrassing for me, but I like to share it with you guys. So here's the first part of a 5 hour long podcast chat, or whatever you would call it, with my buddy Ryan JR. So that was a staff member at Sorensons Ranch when I was there in 2002, 2003. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy this. Leave any questions or comments after. It'd be greatly appreciated. All right. You got it, bro. So we are going to have a few drinks during this podcast because actually, when I got discharged from SRS, no word of a lie, like I said, he go by JR when he worked there, first of all. And when we went there, we were so close, which was rare for a staff member and a student, but we somehow got along. And I remember bugging him like all the time. We would be able to talk like friends, and I would bug him and be like, I'm getting discharged, and like, bro, don't worry. One of these days we're gonna have a beer together. And he would look at me, be like, don't you fucking even try and say that because I'll get in trouble if I even do anything about that answer. So now, after 20 years, we're finally enjoying a beer together. No questions asked. It's all good. All right. So that was the first question. So, and you already answered you were 21 when you started. That was my second question. And I asked how the third question was going to be how long did you work there, which you said about 8 years. So now getting into the nitty gritty, why did you work there?
Um, Kind of a weird long. I'll try to make it a short story of a long story, but uh, I had, you know, I'm I was a young father. Uh, had my first kid at 19. Um, Tried different jobs. Most of them were. I worked in a turkey plant, like processing turkeys. It was terrible. I did that for 2 years, and then few different things. I moved to northern Utah. You were here in Koosharem, Salina, Richfield area. I mean, it's very rural. I mean, beyond rural. You're driving miles and miles, just seeing nothing but cow fields in between that have at the tops. Sometimes, I mean, very rural area that I grew up in, and I moved up to the city um, around the age of 20. Got a job up there. I like the small town life and moved back home. Tried to find a job, and it was just a job that was available. I applied for it, not knowing.
This connection.
Not knowing I'm moving all right.
Okay, so it's the connection's a little screwy. So you're saying it was just a job that you knew of and you didn't know what was going on or what it entailed. What it entailed.
Yeah, I had no. I mean, I kind of got the gist of it, of what it entailed. Of I'd be watching over teens and maybe troubled teens, trying to help them out. I Not to get into too much of my past. I know you probably don't remember, but I know that when you were there, I kind of talked to you about that. I kind of was a troubled teen. Went through some stuff as a kid that got into some trouble. So it kind of intrigued me to like try to use my experience in life of what I'd been through to try to maybe help some people, but not too much. It's more just, oh, this is a job in the beginning. So that's kind of how it started. Applied for the job, got the job, and it snowballed from there to 8 years of hanging out with you guys.
So you went in with good intentions and didn't really know what to expect. Didn't really know what the hell was going on.
Yeah. No, I remember showing up there the first day. I remember showing up there for my first day of work, or actually for my interview, and they were so short-staffed for my interview that they interviewed me and they're like, "Okay, you're hired," and put me to work like immediately. Like
here's a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, no, I didn't get that the first day, but I mean, I showed up there for an interview, like trying to get the job. I'm trying to support my family. I just moved back from living in the city, and I'm like, I got to find something. And I was like, this appeals to me in a few different ways. Number one. Number two, I just need a job. So I show up there fucking suit and tie. Like, I'm clean cut as I can be. I'm not much of a clean cut guy, but did what I could, showed up. And I remember I showed up there, and they're kind of like, "Oh yeah, come meet Pete and come meet Tom. These are the two guys that are in charge of the different shifts." I know you guys talked about Tom in the last one. You didn't talk about Pete, but it was like Pete's shift and Tom's shift. They're like, Pete ran half the days and Tom ran half the days for a lot of the years. But I met them both, and they gave me their rundown, and then they're like, "Okay, well, how about you go out to the barn and we'll send you with this kid and he'll kind of show you around." And I was 21, and I did look pretty young at 21. I don't look young now, but at 21, they just kind of handed me off to a kid and didn't tell him much. They was like, "Show this guy around." He thought I was a student. He thought I was like coming there. So he shows me around. He's like, "Okay, so what you got to do here is like just be really good." And they didn't tell me anything about this kid either. They're just like, "Okay, you're just gonna walk around with this kid." And I'm like, okay, this is a young staff member as well, because he was like 17, 18 at the time and had a beard, or like, scruff, kind of a scruffy face. And I'm like, so in that experience, in my brain, I thought this kid was a young staff member like me, showing me the ropes, and he thought that I was a new kid coming in, like, oh, his parents brought him in, he's coming all dressed up for some fucking reason. I don't fucking know. But so we're walking around together. We literally walked around together for about an hour before we both figured out, like, oh, you're a new staff member and you're a student. So
he's like, "Oh yeah, this is where we smoke cigarettes."
Yeah, not even shitting you. Not even shitting you.
But you're probably so nice that you were like, "Yo, you probably shouldn't tell me that. I'm going to forget that you told me that."
No, I like first day jitters on a new job. I'm wondering why. I'm like, well, I did talk to. That's another thing is when you get hired there. I know that Brandon was talking about. You go to Burnell's office as a new student, and he'll like give you the rundown and kind of talk to you, the super old dude. He'd do that with staff too. And one of the things with staff is like, let me tell you something. If you're going to work here, you don't drink and you don't smoke. I don't care if it's on your off time or whatever. You do not drink or smoke. even on your off time. So then I go with this kid, and yeah, that actually happened. He's like, yeah, sometimes we come out here and smoke in the barn, and like that's where we do it. And I'm like, okay, like this staff member's telling me where they come out to smoke to like get away from the kids and smoke. He's like, yeah,
That's wild.
very crazy first day.
I can hear a bit of an echo from my voice. Maybe if you turn down your volume a little bit, it might help.
Turn down my volume a little.
Thanks, bro. Wow, that's wild. Can you hear me?
Better? Yeah.
I think so. I don't hear myself. So
Okay.
yeah, that's just wild, man, and and hilarious at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I can just imagine you being like, "Oh, okay, the fuck is going on right now?"
Well, and you think about it, like when I'm coming in there as a staff member at 21, there's kids that are 18, 17. It's not a huge age difference. Like I was just a troubled teen like 3 years ago. So I'm coming in 3 years later thinking, oh, A, I'll get a job. B, I will maybe try to give some life advice since I'm that close to that age. But beyond that, I'm at 21. I'll be honest, I was still a scared kid. Like I was still a scared kid at 21, like coming into a job, like not knowing what to expect, trying to impress people, trying to do what I can.
Yeah, trying to walk the walk, talk the talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really young, man. Like I'm 35 now, and like I was 15, 16 when I got there. Like,
yeah, that's what's crazy is you're 35. I know that's super old, but I'm only 40 fucking two. Like we're not that far apart in age, and we were like hanging out, and I was like in charge of you and shit back in the day.
Yeah, and it was to be honest, like you say, you were nervous, and it's kind of you got to walk the walk, talk the talk, and impress people, like you said, and you really wanted to help the kids. But in my mind, you were probably only one of the staff members that probably helped any of the kids because you came in there not like in like this aggressive manner wanting to like beat the kids and pummel their face into the dirt.
That was always when we get to talking about bring that up again when we talk about the restraints and how that all went, because there's a mentality that I want to explain when it comes to that.
Sure, yeah.
Which I hope people can have some understanding with.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear it. So before we get into that, I had a couple other questions. I'm just going to go in order so I don't miss anything.
Yeah.
So are you a Mormon?
Officially, I was born and raised Mormon. I was. My parents are very staunch religious Mormons. I was born in that and raised in the church. Probably about the age of 15, I started to question things a little bit. And my house was a strict house growing up of, if you don't go to church, if you don't go to Mormon church, then you are going to sit home and do chores all day. Those are your choices. You go to church, or you sit home and do chores while everybody else is at church. And you're doing all that.
Let's just go to church then.
Yeah. So I did that for a while. And by the time I hit like I didn't go to church from probably the age of like 12 or 13 and just did the chores. And by the time I was like 15, 16, it got to the point where I wasn't willing to take that punishment anymore. Like, I'm not going to not go to church and sit here and do chores for the whole house because I don't believe in what you believe in. So I completely stopped doing that. And that, as a teenage kid, that obviously brought more punishment, but I just dealt with it. I didn't give a shit. But, you know, from that age until probably about 20, right? I think it was about a year before I started at Sorensons.
Well, once you become a father, that might change things.
Yeah. When I became a father, and I will say this about the Mormon religion is some of the values that they have of just, you know, family and love, and it's not all bad. It's not. It is pretty crazy. I'll tell you that.
But there's parts of it that you believe in.
No, there's not. But the values that they teach of just like, which most religions do, of like, love your neighbor, treat your kids good, fucking bring your kids up right, don't be a dick to people.
But that's just almost like common knowledge.
Yeah. But as a 20-year-old being brought up in that and kind of seeing the mentality behind that, and only having that to draw back on, of like, oh, these are good ideas. I wasn't old enough or didn't care enough to like research anything else to know that, oh yeah, you can just figure that out for your fucking self. So at about 20, I did, you know, jump in like both feet, and like, because a lot of the ideals from the Mormon Church, from my perspective, and you know, I'm sure eventually there will be other Mormon people that will watch this that won't agree with me, and I'm sorry if you don't. But it's like, if you do this, then you get this. Like, if you pay some money to the church, then the blessings that you get will be a new job, or a new car, or, you know, it's like they kind of
karma, but they specify it or whatever.
Yeah, it's like if you do this, then you get this. And
yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
I definitely, you know, like I said, I moved to Provo. I moved up to northern Salt Lake. I was having a rough time. Like, I'm a brand new dad. I'm trying to support my family. I don't know what the fuck to do. Nothing's fucking working. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just
work at SRS.
Talk to my dad. Well, not even beyond this. I guess I'll talk to my dad and see what he thinks. And he's like, oh, well, you need to do this. You need to jump in both feet in the Mormon Church, and it'll change your fucking life. So I did.
Okay. That kind of makes sense.
And then I got this job, which I fucking loved. I mean, I loved that job till the day I left. 100%. So at the point when I started it, it made sense because I got it right after I did that. I was like, oh, do this, and then fucking life-changing. And it was life-changing.
So in a way, it is true.
Go ahead. You got flies in your house too?
Yeah, they're fucking
Freaking
annoying.
Canada has freaking October, man. They're all just coming in.
No, we're back at the ranch with all the fucking geese shitting all over the place and the flies, and we're tapping into some crazy shit over here. So with that being said, do you feel like you were helping kids?
I know that I did. I 100% know that I did. Like I said, I kind of started out not knowing much of what was going to happen and what the job was. Within the first 2 weeks or a month, I was like, okay, I can help. I can help kids just because, like I said, I had life experience. I was young. Even when you were there, I was older, but I still had the life experience. I felt like, I don't know. I kind of felt like the whole time I was there, this might sound dickish, but I was kind of a rebel staff. Like, yeah, awesome. We're doing this thing, but I understand people, and I understand that most of these kids don't want to fucking be here. They don't want to fucking be here. So yeah, you got to go do your workouts. You got to go do this and that and whatever. But that was my whole thing. If I can give anybody that was there just an experience of some music or how it was at home, or
I was going to say like a little bit of love and a little bit of compassion.
Yeah, just hanging out and having fun and showing people that people are people.
You could have got in trouble for the music that you played on the trips and whatnot. 100%.
There were a million things I could have got in trouble for there. Yeah. And
you took a risk because you knew that who the fuck would even consider ratting on you, because we were getting an extra privilege in SRS talk was to be able to go on these outings with you opposed to a different staff member, and you would bring your personal CD collection and we'd be sitting in the fucking van listening to good CDs, and even if it did get back to you, just be like, okay, sorry, I won't do that again. Like
right.
It's like
yeah. That, which is crazy. I probably started doing that within my first year, and I worked there for 8 years. There wasn't a single time any fucking kid ever said a fucking thing about that shit because, and
you had like a vast like knowledge of music. So we were lucky kids because I was a punk rocker from Montreal, and you would bring maybe in like a couple like punk rocky things that I liked, and then there was like these hip hop kids from the States. You bring some hip hop. There's some electronic weird raver kids. You bring some Apex Twins, and there was some fucking little bit for everybody.
Apex Twin, dude. I remember you like fucking giving me requests of shit I've never fucking heard of. I go look it up and fucking download that shit and have it like, okay, we're going on a fucking cookout. This is Daryl's hour. and all the fucking California kids that are like, oh, we just want to listen to rap all day. Like, God damn it. I'm like, hey, you respect the game. We fucking listen to your shit. We're going to fucking listen to Daryl's shit, man.
I remember once we went on an art trip and Steve, the music teacher, fucking bought me a Coxbar CD. And I remember having that CD player in my cabin that I can listen to CDs. I don't even know if I told you, but that got passed around. And I did tell you, because I was telling you about how some staff member drove by and gave me a bunch of CDs. Gave me like Alice in Chains, and I was like, is that good? You're like, yeah, that's fucking amazing record, man.
Alice in Chains, man. Awesome.
Dude, I still listen to that record and think of like that. And it was Jar of Flies, and it's like that record will always stay with me because I only had a radio station with classic rock and bullshit, and then I was able to put on an Alice in Chains record and the Cockspurs CD that Steve got me, and yeah, man, it definitely made the time there a little less more tolerable for me, if not a lot.
Yeah. that was most of my goal, is just to like connect with some people, try to make life try to make it more tolerable, for sure.
Because it's safe to say this wasn't a very easy place to be for a kid, and like you said, no kid wants to effing be there.
No, I don't think anybody wanted to be there, and I get that. But you guys were. It's kind of like the opposite side of. It's kind of like the opposite side of what Brandon was saying. Like, he realized that he was there. He was there till he was 18. His parents weren't gonna fucking change their minds, and he just decided to make the best of it. It's not like I was forced to be there, but I was there. I had a job to do. I didn't want my job to like be a fucking problem for people that didn't want to be there. I wanted to be like to try to make their experience there a little bit better in any way that I could.
It was a strict place.
Oh, it was.
My first day, in the daytime, I was just hanging out in my bunk, and I was just got there. I don't know all the rules, but I knew I had to be good because Tavito put his arms around my neck and threw me down the stairs my first night. So the next day, I'm already got my tail between my legs, and I didn't want to get in any trouble for anything. So I was trying to behave, and I think I was just like starting to draw for 5 minutes, and I drew. I was a big stoner back then. I smoked a ton of weed. That's why I was like there. And I drew, I think, like 420 in someone's page book. I don't know if you remember, but you came up to me, and that was probably the first time I met you. And you're just like, you kind of were like almost laughing, being like, bro, like you can't do that. Like you'll be like in trouble if you do that. Like just don't do that. And I was kind of looking at you like, this guy seems kind of nice. Like.
All right. I'm going to have to take pee breaks because I'm drinking a lot of beer. I'm going to run real quick. I don't know if you want to pause or just like talk shit behind my back. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, no worries. All right, we're back.
Sweetie.
So, yeah, we're discussing how he was kind of like a rebel staff member who he followed the rules, but he kind of worked them in his own way. And for a lot of people there, he was kind of like the one staff member that you can probably come up to and be honest with and not feel like you're going to get thrown in the isolation room or something, you know?
I hope so.
So next up I got, how did you find out about the ranch? I feel like you kind of touched on that a little bit.
I believe, if I remember right, so this was 2000, so it was kind of pre like internet. I mean, the internet was out there, but not in. I mean, even now, we struggle with trying to get people from anything from the internet in this area. I mean, Facebook works pretty good, but Facebook wasn't a thing back then.
So you're not living in Koosharem. You're living in one of the surrounding towns.
I live in Salina, which is, so you've got Richfield. You remember Richfield? Salina's like 17 miles north of there. That's where I grew up. That's where I'll bring this up in a minute. That's the famous park that we went to. That was in my hometown.
Famous? What do you mean famous?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. After this question, I have a question for you.
All right, now I'm excited. Okay, so
All right.
So you heard about the ranch, kind of just.
I think it was through a newspaper.
Through a newspaper.
The local newspaper.
You're like, I can't really find a job. I'm like, I'll just apply here.
I'm like, yeah, I'll try this one. McDonald's, Sorensons Ranch, I don't know.
Okay, one more question, and then you ask me whatever you want. So my next question is, which I already know the answer to, and I feel like it's a dumb question, but are you related to anybody who worked there?
Okay.
You know why I'm asking, though.
Yeah.
Besides your wife, ex-wife, I should assume.
No. Well,
why did it take you so long to answer that?
Because it is a small town, so I'm trying to think if I actually worked with any other relatives. I don't think I did.
Fair enough.
I don't think I was related to anyone else. When you were there, my ex-wife worked there. She worked up in the office. You remember her, Jill?
I remember her very well because she was also someone else that I felt I can trust, maybe not as much as you, but someone. And she wasn't as nice as you, but she was like, kind of like, since I was on your good side, and I was like one of the.
She was nice to you because of me.
Yeah, she tolerated me because of you, pretty much. And that was pretty special for someone that was there, you know. Like right. That wasn't for most people. It was like me and maybe a handful of kids that she would do that for, because you're just like, no, Daryl's my fucking special student guy. Like, you can't fuck with him.
Okay, so we were talking earlier, and you said you helped me move. Where did you help me move from and to? Do you remember?
All I remember is just moving a bunch of computer shit and CDs and.
Was that from Aurora to Koosharem, right?
No, I think you moved to where you are now. Maybe not the same house, but I remember it was the same time when like one of the Grand Theft Auto games came out. Me, you, and Blaine, and like Chris Moore, some of the cool kids were like hanging out in your living room playing video games. You're like, if you tell anybody this shit, I will get fired.
Okay. So
it was a nice house, and it had like some old school like carpet, and then it had like white walls. I remember moving this stuff out of like almost like a basement of somewhere, and then into this nice whole house, and it was pretty baller.
Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. I'll be honest. I had many Sorensons kids help me move from here to there because it was free labor.
But also, I'm sure the kids were more than happy to be able to do that activity than be on the farm.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a good time. It was better than being at the ranch, and you got to come move, and maybe we ate some good food. I don't know. I hope we fed you guys and shit. But yeah, I was married to Jill. She worked at the ranch. Obviously, we were related because we were married. That didn't continue. And then, so what were the years that you were there? I'm trying to figure out timelines.
I'm thinking it was like 2002, 2003.
Okay.
I'm really bad with timelines too. So like I've been doing a bunch of these episodes already, and I feel like I'm pretty sure it was like something like that. Yeah.
So that helps me a ton. So yeah, you helped me and Jill move.
Probably to your guys' first house.
No, I was with her from 1998, so
Okay.
1996 or 7 actually. So
Okay, my bad.
I think our first house we got first apartment 1998. Like I said, when I started there, I was 21 and had just moved from Provo. I mean, we lived in Provo and then came here, and then yeah. So you helped me move with her, and then within the next, it was probably right after you left that we were done.
Really?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, Daryl's not here anymore. We should just break up.
I can't deal with Jill anymore. Daryl's not here. Oh, this crazy Canadian kid fucking keeping me fucking sane. It's over.
Dude, I need to show you this picture. You remember Ben Hatch?
Fuck yeah.
He just sent me a couple of shots of me back then that you'll probably want to see.
Oh my god.
Did you have a question that you want to ask, or that was it?
Yeah. So anyway, when you were there, I was with her. I got remarried and went on from there. But that was the only person there that I was ever related to, other than I probably have third and fourth cousins that worked there, but I don't even know.
Yeah, you didn't even know that. You didn't even know
it's
yet.
A small area.
So I don't know if you can see that. That was me back then, and I look stoned, and of course I wasn't stoned there.
Yeah, you weren't.
That was definitely my get up. Definitely my get up back then. I was always like somehow manipulating the system to like by wearing a jean vest.
Yes, that is classic fucking Daryl, bro.
Here's a good one too. Me, Amar, and this other kid. I forget his name.
Oh,
I just lost it.
Shit.
I haven't talked to any of these guys in years, but me and Ben Hatch have been kind of in communications, and I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but we haven't recorded anything yet.
Yeah, I fucking love that kid too. He was fucking awesome.
Who, Ben?
Yeah.
And he's from Utah too, so you guys had that. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, we connected pretty well as well.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
my big question is, do you remember? Okay, no, I have two questions for you. Number one, there were some kids. I'm still struggling with timelines and names. There's some kids that were in like your friend group at that time that you and me were always hanging out with. There was a kid from Eugene, fucking Oregon.
Fucking James Glang.
James? Holy shit! Thank you. Oh my gosh. Dude, I've been trying to think of that. Have you talked to him?
I wish.
God damn.
He treated me like his little brother because he was like tall and he was like, I remember like I wore his shoes when he left because like he gave me all his gear and all his shit. Like, yeah, we were like close, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a group when you were there that were just like, that was probably my favorite group of kids that were ever fucking there. Was your group of kids.
I miss a lot of those dudes. Like I remember it was me, Blaine Hollander, Chris Moore. There was
Chris
Matt.
Moore. Holy shit!
The redhead kid.
Yeah. Do you remember fucking riding down the fucking sand ledges? Did you ever go sledding with us?
I remember that too, where you're just like running down the mountains and it was all
Yeah.
clay mountains. Yeah, those were the best times, man.
Oh, fucking awesome.
Yeah. So then there was also before when I first got there, there's this kid named Matt, and then this other kid, I forget his name, but he was kind of a punk too. And we would sew all our pants super tight and just like pretend that we were still punks in this like uniform, like yeah. And there was James, there was Jordan, who's like dad used to like take him out and do peyote and shit.
Oh yeah. Oh, Jordan.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we had a fucking crazy crew.
That was a
And
good
like
crew.
that was the most memorable thing for me there was having my peers around me that I can kind of like look to, and like not every kid there had their little crew of people that they can kind of like depend on and make their stay there a little more tolerable, sort of say.
Yeah.
Like out of the horrible experiences I've had there, I feel like the one thing I could look back at was having people like you and having my friends there with me who I met, who I wish I can still be in contact with some of them. It's pretty crazy sometimes to think about it.
Okay, so here's my question that jumped off that question. I remember being at the Salina Park where I live. I live in Salina. We went out to the Salina Park. It's like out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And you drive out there and it's like, oh, let's all get on the swings. We were like eating, I think we were eating like Little Caesars pizza and some shit. And fucking people are getting on the goddamn merry-go-round. And you jumped off the, you remember this shit? You jumped off the fucking merry-go-round and either fucking hit your head on the merry-go-round or got kicked in the face or some shit. Do you remember that?
Because there was a swing that did like a circular motion thing.
Oh yeah! Oh, it was on the circular swing.
And so I must have maybe been dizzy off of that, and I'm like, oh, whoa, and then boom, fucking smack me in the head, minor concussion. I talked about that in a previous episode because
I remember you were super worried. You were super worried for like the rest of the time you were there. Like, that shit fucked up my head, bro. Like, I'm broken for life.
Well, that's a good point, man. Well, probably. I mean, it could have shooken up a couple things. I mean,
CTE.
Dude, I brought that up in another episode because there was a lot of things that didn't get reported and a lot of like neglect from Sorensons. Not on your half. You did your part. You know what I mean? You probably told the staff.
I reported the shit out of that. I was like, this kid got fucking kicked in the fucking head.
Yeah, and they didn't really do anything about it or anything. I've heard stories of other people having issues and nothing got reported, swept under the rug. So I did bring that up in an issue, but I didn't get to talk on how fun that adventure was that day.
It was a fun day.
Yeah.
Until you got kicked in the fucking head and you're like out cold. I'm like, fucking.
And I think was I wearing a helmet too?
I think you were wearing. I think we were skateboarding that day too. So I think you were wearing a helmet.
So it was like I got hit. So if I wasn't wearing that helmet, I probably would have died.
You would have died. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny to laugh about now, especially when you tell me the whole story. Because from my recollection, I don't remember like what the park's name was or this or that.
Yeah, I just remember that shit. Like, oh my gosh.
I remember that because in a previous episode that you heard with Brandon, I remember this after he's talking about how I went to like on an adventure to Lake Powell or something and I was there. The reason I didn't remember is because I just recently had that concussion. And I remember the whole time I was at that place after a few days of watching the podcast, I was like, how do I not remember that? Because I remember laying in the tent the whole time, having these vivid dreams that like I was in a sleeping bag, but the sleeping bag was made out of sand. And I was like just tripping balls the whole fucking time I was there.
That's an intense concussion. Yeah, I think you got super concussed because you were literally affected by that for months.
And I'm not one to really like fucking.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
Like,
passive.
yeah. And but I remember you being like, not being a bitch, but there's something wrong with my brain.
I probably just didn't want to get you in trouble for like actually taking us out on a nice day. Like,
This is the guy that took us to those spinny swings, and I got kicked in the fucking head real hard.
well, you remember JJ, right?
Oh yeah.
So I remember him hitting his head on a thing, and for some reason they took that serious. I don't know why, because maybe he got his parents involved or something. And I remember that's when we had to start wearing helmets.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So
All
did
right.
you say you had another question?
No, those are my 2 questions for now.
Yeah, I definitely remember that.
I'm, I've got a lot more questions, but I'll just throw them in as they come.
Well, I'm happy. The more the merrier, because I have no time limit here, and I
Me
feel like
neither.
what better way to do a podcast than to just let it roll, right?
And hang out all night.
So what was it like as a staff member? I mean, I know that's kind of vague and we kind of already got into that, but that's the question I have written down. Compared to us and our story you heard with Brandon, like, what was it kind of like being a staff member, especially like
I'll
in a place like that?
I'll kind of get back to the first of when I started with that question, because I think it's a good jump off for that question. So when I started there, like I said, I started there 2000-ish. I was a huge, at that point, and I'll still admit it now, I still am. I was a huge Limp Bizkit fan at the time.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, it comes into the story.
Okay.
So I started there as a staff member. Like I said, I showed up there my first day in a suit and tie, and went from that to just, well, it looks like the staff members just dress how they dress at home. So at home, I wore shorts and long socks and fucking a red hat backwards with a red shirt and all that kind of shit. I think they're trying to get out of that a little bit, but not 100% when you got there. But when I started there, they really were a place that just grabbed kids from, this kid's getting charged. This kid's 17 years old. He's getting charged as an adult in Colorado. We can bring him in and have the state pay us. That was kind of their deal back then. California, wherever. So when I first started there were a lot of actual like 17, 18-year-old gang member kids from the United States. And you remember how much I got along with Clay back, when you were there? Me and Clay were, yeah. Remember Clay?
I kind of know the name and everything, but I have a hard time remembering him.
Like Clay's office, you go to Clay's office, and there were Clay's kids. Like, if you're one of Clay's kids, you're special and all that shit.
Sorry, it's hard to remember. I know the name so well.
Yeah.
And like, if you show me a picture, I'd be like, yeah, that's Clay, but I wouldn't really remember anything about him.
He's a bigger, just old farm boy, just a really awesome guy.
So he's one of the good ones.
I feel like he was one of the good ones. Yeah, definitely.
He's a Sorenson, by the way, right? Clay Sorenson?
Clay Bagley.
Clay Bagley. Okay. Isn't there a Lane Bagley too?
Yep.
Okay.
Lane was more of the office and off. He ran the off-campus house with the girls.
Okay.
Lane did.
There was always something about him that I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. So yeah. So Clay.
Anyway, Clay was one of the head dudes, kind of one of the head dudes when I was there when I first started, and I show up there like third day, just wearing a red hat, fucking a red shirt, and high socks with fucking red on them. And he pulls me aside and he's like, this is a problem. You can't dress like this because there's bloods here. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, they're really pissed off. These kids want to fuck you up because you're wearing too much red and they're Crips. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. So just to jump off your question, starting out as a staff member, I kind of figured out just I had to dress a certain way to not piss people off, just because I did come from a small fucking town where, oh yeah, if you just like a band and you just kind of dress like this guy, if you just dress him like Fred Durst, that might be a problem because he's wearing too much red. And seriously, back then it was like, I think it was a little before you got there. It was a little, you got there and it was hardcore, but before you got there, it was way more. We had the state come down on us and be like, hey, guess what? You can't do this, you can't do that. Like, before that, I walked in there in my first fucking 2 weeks. I was like, I had a fucking problem. I had a problem with what was going on, because it was like, do you remember being in your bed? Oh, do you want to get up? No, I don't. Okay, we'll beat the fucking shit out of you. I think that was pre your time, because when I first started there, that's what it was. It was like a new kid comes in. Oh, you're laying in your bed? Oh, I just got here. I don't want to get up. Well, we don't give a shit.
Well, I say that was my time too, because I was fucking first day in, kicked down the fucking stairs.
True. You probably saw part of that.
I witnessed it,
that was
but
intense.
it's hard for me to say that I witnessed it, because I've heard stories and episodes that you guys are all going to see soon from guys that have been there back in the early 90s, where there was a lot more, let's say, blood. It was like Mortal Kombat with the blood turned on when you put the little cheat code in. And then when I was there, it was just Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I don't know. When I started there was too much blood for me. I mean, like I said, I was a young kid. I was trying to just.
So how do you take that knowledge that you know and you feel that emotions being like, okay, this is too much. I still want to be here. How do you fit in? How do you do that? Do you get shit from the staff? Do you feel like you just have to just grin it and bear it?
Let's just jump to your. I know we're jumping around now, but I think this is a good time to jump to it. I know you have a question about restraints.
Sure.
Let's just jump to that.
Okay. So, what are the restraints?
Okay. So, they changed a lot through the years that I was there. But basically, when I first started, it was if a kid is non-compliant at all whatsoever, like, I'm not getting out of bed. You can restrain them. That might have been when you were there too. It kind of changed to they have to be causing harm to themselves or to someone else. That's what it changed to. But at first it was, if they tell you no, you have free reign.
And what did the restraint entail? Like, how did it go down?
Brandon explained it very well.
It was pretty much like, yeah.
If you want to go back to that, or I'll just explain it.
Well, it's nice to hear from your perspective too.
From my perspective, I'll tell you from a staff's perspective, because that was what I was famous for years, is being it's kind of like having your homies back. I was working there, so I'll get into that if we ever get to it, but I won't get into it now. But I've been in many experiences where there's something going down. I'm the only one there, and I do call my radio like, there's two kids here beating the living shit out of each other, and I've got to control this situation. And they're like, if I can do it, and I'm like, okay, I will. I'll go in and take care of it. And then I'm getting the shit kicked out of me by the kid that I'm like taking down the person that beat the shit out of the other kid. But then the other kid's beating the shit out of me from behind.
What?
That's happened to me many fucking times, where the other staff are, not to be rude, but either too fat or too slow or just don't give a fuck, that I just get the shit fucking kicked out of me because nobody has my back.
See, in my head, I'm like,
you
never restrain anybody.
I was very fast. I'm still very fast. They'd always just call for me. Like, there's a friend going down over here, SR fucking JR, get the fuck over here. I'm just like, whoo! I'm just like, what? Right there, you know? Like,
okay. Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, I don't feel like you've ever restrained anybody because you just don't feel like that would be something you're comfortable with in a way.
And yeah, let me clarify that. I didn't show up like, oh, there's a kid on the ground, I'm gonna fucking kick him in the fucking teeth. No. I show up there and 90% of the time, oh, there's a nurse over here that's like getting pummeled in the face by some fucking girl. And I just grab her and fucking hold her to the ground. That's a staff's perspective. It wasn't always like
violent.
It was always violent in some way, but it wasn't always. Sometimes it was like prevent violence by, hey, just lay down here and cool the fuck out. That was, and in any restraint. For the last 5 years I worked there, I taught the class that was like, and that's how I taught it too. It was like, we're not here to fuck up kids. We're not here to fucking be pissed off. If there's something happening, if someone's getting hurt, stop them from getting hurt and put them on the ground to stop that violence from happening. But don't make more violence. Just stop it. You don't need to fucking twist the wrist and fucking break the fucking arm, which.
So you would say if you did a restraint, it was a lot more less violent. You would kind of just assess the situation and be like, instead of pushing my arm back so you break it, or instead of sweeping your legs from under you and letting you smack your face into the ground, I'm more so going to almost lightly get you to the ground and
Yeah,
kind of hold you there
I'm
because
not. I never in any. I 100% know. I can say that was a fact. I never tried to hurt anyone. Actually, hurt anyone in restraint. People who got hurt in restraints. My whole point was just stop whatever's happening, and I would say 95% of the time I was ever involved in restraint, it was, okay, these two kids are beating the shit out of each other. Let's stop that. Hold them. Don't be a dick about it. But that's the thing is I was never 100% in control of. I was always trying to direct what was happening. Like, hey, you don't need to fucking put your fucking knee on the back of his fucking head. That's fucking ridiculous.
well, from our experience of stories I've been told, it's been a lot of people have been agreeing that it's been more like 3, 4, 5 staff members, maybe not 5, but quite a few of them on one, maybe a $120 girl or guy. That's not even weigh that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's
I
excessive. It was very excessive and violent, and there was
I
most times arms broken, noses busted up, blood and shit, and
I can't disagree with that. All I can say is what I never tried to hurt anyone
why do you feel like
from my
you?
involvement.
Why do you feel like your perspective and way of handling things was different than most of the other staff members that were there? What do you think separated you from the other staff member?
Because I fucking love people, man.
So you're saying that a lot of the staff member here weren't very much passionate people. They were kind of just there for a job, and
Um,
they were hard asses, maybe.
possibly for some of them. I won't get into names, but
Of
there
course.
were. Brandon brought this up some. If you want to go watch that one, there were people there that were fucking actual fucking bullies that were staff members. There were fucking bullies. If you have a staff, these are the people that I don't want to have my back as a staff member. There were very few and far between staff members that actually did genuinely care and didn't want to bully people or fucking like get pissed off like, oh, you did this, I'm gonna fucking fuck you up. That mentality is a fucking problem in a place like that, in my
You always
opinion.
used to talk about people being on power trips. I feel
Yeah,
like that's a good way to put it. You know, there's a lot of
very,
staff members.
very, very good fucking point. Very good fucking point. Yeah, power trip. Oh, you fucking pissed me off yesterday when you fucking did this, and now you did this, so I'm gonna fucking show you.
Like SR Cindy, let's get 10 points off for fucking this guy and
Yep.
10 points off for this and that. Actually,
Yeah.
just throw him in a jumpsuit and put him in the damn isolation room already.
Yep. That's not even. You're not.
Did I lose you there? All right.
Beauty.
So Obviously, you've witnessed some violence, and that was my next question. Was Have you ever witnessed any violence? Which is almost like a dumb question again because we've already discussed a little bit of that.
I will expand on this just to the biggest day of violence that I've ever experienced. I'm not sure if you were there at the time. Remember Chad? Remember a kid named Chad?
I mean, the name sounds familiar. I probably do, yeah.
I don't remember his last name, but he was in the isolation room. There's a kid named Mitch Pulver. No? All
Doesn't
right.
sound familiar.
Okay, there's a kid named Mitch, and I don't remember the other kid's name. But remember how the isolation room had cameras everywhere? Back in the day, the isolation room was not always staffed. It was for the most in the last part. I think probably after this situation. But they were kind of using it as a cabin. They were using it as a cabin for kids that struggled. That they're always in orange jumpsuits. Oh, let's just throw those level ones together. So it's always monitored by the cameras. And I just happened to be looking through I'm pretty sure it was me. I just happened to be looking through the cameras. If somebody else did and they showed me. I remember I was the shift supervisor that day. And I watched the cameras and I see this kid and two other kids just get pissed off, and there's like the chair that's sitting like the staff chair.
The desk.
Yeah, the desk and the staff chair sitting there. It's like an old recliner. It's like heavy as shit with like a huge metal bottom and everything. And they just pull this kid out of his cubicle and throw him on the ground and like pick this chair up and drop it on his head. I watch this and like, oh, we all run out there. It was like within 5 minutes of it happening. And this kid just like fucking laying on the ground, bleeding out of his fucking head. So I take those two kids and I called Jill Sorenson on the phone. And I'm like, this just happened. What the fuck do I do? Like, what do you want me to do with these kids? And she's like, I'm going to set up a mountain camp for these kids. I'm going to take them up on the mountain. I was like, all right, I'll just keep them out here in the barn. So I'm sitting out in the barn with these two kids. And she calls me back and she's like, yeah, let them get some belongings and whatever, like their shoes and socks and whatever they need from their cabins. So I take them after this whole crazy thing of like them dropping a fucking chair on this fucking kid's head. I walked these two kids over to their cabin, which was, remember number 13? The big one?
The one that I was in?
I was like, so you got the lodge, then you have the little tiny one that has like just the double bunk.
It's a tiny little one, like right in front of the cabin.
Yeah.
Where I think Lee used to live.
Yeah. Then you have the big one that has another tiny one connected to it. Then it has like the walk upstairs.
Yeah, the back. I was on that side one.
Okay. So I take them over to that one that's like you walk upstairs and shit. And I just take them over there to get their stuff. And one of them's in front of me and the other one's behind me. And I should have, as a staff member, being smart, but I was like, whatever, these kids are scrawny. I'm a fucking full-size man. I'll be fine. Just like, okay, let's go get your stuff. So I just walk over there with him, and one was behind me, and the other one's in front of me, and I don't even fucking see it coming. The one behind me just fucking starts like rabbit punch, like jumps on my back and rabbit punches as I'm going up the stairs. The stairs that go up and then up again. Yeah, I'm like on the little where you go up again,
like inside and then out, and that's that weird little thing. Okay, yeah, I was thinking of a different one, but that's where I first started. Was in that one. Like,
yeah. So I'm on that little landing. The kid behind me jumps on my back and just rabbit punches me in the back of the head, like
50 times. Like da, 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 da.
Yeah, enough times that I like start losing vision and shit because he hit me so many times, and I like start going down. I'm like, my brain's like, okay, there's 2 of you and there's 1 of me, and I'm not getting to my radio. Like, my radio's on my head. I just have to fucking fight this out. So it's a full fucking brawl between me and those 2 kids. And yeah, that was the most violence I ever experienced at Sorensons. Was just.
Did you knock one of these kids out or what?
One of those things that don't. I probably broke every rule in the goddamn book because I came to with both these kids fucking kicking me in the fucking face. And in the end, when I got my radio, they were both they were both ready to just be taken away to mountain camp. Not something I'm proud of, but I'm not kidding.
So it was kind of like a situation
I got bum rushed. Not if either one of you fellers ever watch this, I apologize for using every tool in my book of just beating the living shit out of you. But I'm also not going to get.
But who?
That's the thing as a staff member is.
But in the first thing that I'm thinking of, and that's why I'm kind of laughing, is because who are these kids think they're doing? It's like, first of all, you're one of the nice guys, and second of all, where do you think this is going to benefit you, and how do you think this is going to go down? You're already sent on the mountain. You think you're going to beat the shit out of JR, or you're going to go run off into the sage bush?
Their plan was to get my keys and fucking take my car and get the fuck out of there. They're going to run away, like steal my keys out of my pants.
Okay, well, not a terrible idea, but the chances of them actually getting...
Which is what was happening when I came to, by the way. I come to and they're like digging through my pants. And
you're only like probably 21 at this point.
I was probably 23 at that point. Yeah.
So that was around the time I was there.
Yeah.
And how come I never didn't hear about this? You didn't want to tell me that?
Maybe it might have been after you. I don't know. It was either before you or after you.
Either way, these kids, they either had a bright idea and they thought it would work, but there's still only like a fucking 30% chance that they would even make it past Richfield because there'd be a police block. Because I don't know if you know, but I have a slight suspicion that they have an in with the police there.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard a story from another podcast that you're going to hear soon about something really fucking crazy that I can't wait for you to put out.
Who have you interviewed?
Oh, man. I've got like...
I know you interviewed Reese.
So I have probably one interview out now. And I would say this is about my maybe 8th or 10th one I have sitting on.
Dude, I'm so excited. Dude, this is gonna make my work day so amazing. Can you drop some names of people that are coming up just for my interest?
So for the next one, I think I'm gonna put out. We have a girl. I believe her name is Luana. We have another girl named Talisha that I just did. We have
I think I remember Alicia.
we have Reese that I mentioned. We have I'm a few beers deep in now, so I'm having a hard time remembering. But I got some good stuff coming brewing up. And
Nice.
I feel like I'm really like opening up some weird ass like Pandora's box with this podcast because I've been getting back. Because actually, now that I'm on the subject,
love this.
I haven't talked to you in probably 20 years. I may have tried to contact you through like Facebook or some other app, maybe when I first got out of there, and like we maybe said hi here or there. And I was still so young. You were still working there. There was not much communication, but I haven't. So let's just sort of say I haven't even seen your name probably 20 years, even though we were so close there. That's just how life is.
Yeah.
But when I put out the first episode about not even a week ago, how did you even find it? And how did you like even, because you contacted me and you're like, hey, good to see you, man. And like, I'd love to do an episode. So like, first question, how did you find it? And why the fuck did you agree to do this?
Okay. I'll answer both of those questions. Number one, so I'm just laying in my bed at like 7:30, 8:30 in the morning one day, and I get a text from Jill, my ex-wife, that worked there when you were there.
Yeah, we were talking about her.
Yeah. And it's like a clip. It's just the clip about me that you talked about with Brandon. And I click on it, I'm like, the fuck? And
like, who are these little punks?
Like, I haven't talked to you. I haven't talked to him. So I hear it, and I know it's about me, and I know what it's all about. But I'm like, okay, who is this? What the fuck? Like, I couldn't figure out who either one of you were just from it was like a 20-second clip. I'm like,
what were we even saying? Because it's a 2-hour long episode. I probably watched it twice.
It was just the part when you're like, oh yeah, that guy JR. It was the part when you're like, oh yeah, I kind of connected with JR. He was a pretty cool guy and like all that stuff. And like, I knew the fuck I am, but I couldn't. For like, also, I literally clicked on this when I'm waking up in the morning. So I'm like,
so how the hell did Jill even find out? Like, how is this getting floated around?
She said she's on some.
She's on the group that I'm on, the Sorensons Ranch group.
Some group chat or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Add me that, by the way.
Is it the chat or is it the Sorensons Ranch group that's like has 500 members?
I don't know. Something.
So whoever's listening out there, we have 500 members potentially for a podcast. And then there's another group chat that Reese and but I'll give Reese full credit, had started, and it grew to like maybe 50 people. And that's just within a round and the timeline that I'm in.
Add me to both.
Yeah.
I want, if you find somebody that me and you were there with at the same time, I'd like to do like a 3-person one. That'd be fucking awesome.
I feel like every episode we do, I always mention that there needs to be a second part. And now that I have you on here, I feel like we need to do like a 5-part or something, like a 10-part.
I think we're like 1/4 through the fucking questions you had for me, so we'll try to pound through them. But shit.
Well, dude, there's so much more stuff, and I always say we never scratch the surface on, first of all, the student's life or the Sorensons Ranch story or anything. So for that, and with you, it's totally different because you have so much information it's endless.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you're on board because I'm willing to do like a 10-episode thing with you, man.
I will do it, man. I'm down. Cheers, mate. What are you drinking up there in Canada?
So here in Canada, we drink these fancy beers called Sneaky Weasel.
Sneaky weasel.
And it's only about, I think I paid $35 for a 2.4, which is cheap as F in where I'm from. I don't know about you probably pay like $20 for a 2.4.
Depends on what you drink.
Well, the only reason I have a 2.4 is because I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a barber now and I've been running my barber shop, and I offer free beer every service you come and get a haircut. So I have my beer just filled with fridge 24/7.
That's fucking awesome.
Did I just say beer filled with
Beer
fridge?
filled with fridge. My beer is filled with fridge. Dude, that's so Daryl. I do miss you, bro.
I do miss you too, bro. I'm like, what was the first thing I said to you? I'm just like, I don't recognize you. Are you JR? And you're like, yeah, that's me, dum dum. And I'm like, man, like, I don't think I would have been able to get through that place if it wasn't for you. And then you said, you're like, you're probably one of the most amazing people that I met there. And like, I believe every word of it because we really did have like a special connection.
Yeah, it was, we were tight.
So just to paint a picture, there was the whole place and you were in charge of everybody, all the kids that was going on the boys' side. And there was this little weird, little booth, almost like a security booth in a sense. And you'd be like posted up in there and you could have an eye on everything. I would literally be sitting in that booth with you.
With me.
Yeah. And
like kicking
it like
chilling. You got to see all the cameras. You can see everything going on. We'd just be chilling.
Yeah, I'd be posted up with JR just being like, who the F is messing with us today? You know, like I felt like a staff member when I was with you.
Fucking A.
All right. Hope everybody's enjoying this crazy episode here with JR and myself. As you can tell, we're having a few too many drinks, and to be honest, I wasn't sure if I was going to share this one with you guys, but I think there's a lot of good little tidbits and a little bit of information in there that I think it's important. So, yeah, I'll be probably posting about a few more of those. I might not post the whole thing because it gets a little messy by the end. But yeah, like I said, there's some good tidbits in there, and I'm really happy to be able to shed a little bit of light on some of the things and have the opportunity to sit down with JR and talk about how Sorensons Ranch was from a staff's perspective. And looking forward to doing a proper episode where I won't be drinking because I'm a mess when I drink. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week for a brand new episode. All right, cheers.